Imagine waking up on a morning when hundreds of people begin their day without the slightest idea that it will be their last. The harbor is alive with activity. Sailors are finishing the final preparations. Passengers are saying goodbye to their families. Some are laughing, some are making plans for the future, while others simply stand in awe of the massive ocean liner that will soon disappear beyond the horizon. To everyone there, it is just another ordinary day. No one knows that within a few days, this ship will become one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. It won't explode. It won't strike an iceberg. It won't send a distress signal. It will simply disappear. So completely that more than a century later, no one can say with certainty where its final voyage came to an end. How can a ship more than 140 meters long, carrying over 200 people, simply vanish? Why did the ocean never return a single confirmed piece of wreckage? And was a storm really the only explanation? The deeper investigators dug into the story, the more questions they uncovered, and some of those questions remain unanswered to this day. At the beginning of the 20th century, the ocean was the world's greatest highway. Air travel did not yet connect continents, so thousands of people placed their lives in the hands of ocean liners. In 1908, the British shipping company Blue Anchor Line introduced its newest passenger liner, SS Waratah. For its time, she was considered a modern marvel. She featured a steel hull, spacious cabins, electric lighting, and the comforts expected from a first-class passenger ship of the era. On board were businessmen, miners, farmers, families with children, and people chasing the dream of a new life in Australia. Each passenger carried a different story, yet they all shared one thing in common. None of them realized they had boarded a voyage that would become a legend. Waratah's first voyages passed without any major incidents. Everything suggested that the company had built exactly the ship it had hoped for. But a few experienced sailors noticed something unusual. In rough seas, the vessel seemed to behave differently. After rolling with the waves, she recovered her balance, more slowly than expected. Most passengers never noticed. To seasoned seamen, however, this could have been a warning sign that something wasn't quite right with the ship's stability. Was it simply an unusual design? Or was it the first hint of a hidden flaw? At the time, almost no one paid much attention. And perhaps that would prove to be a fatal mistake. In July 1909, SS Waratah began another voyage from Australia toward Great Britain, making scheduled stops along the South African coast. After leaving the port of Durban, she set course for Cape Town. Ahead lay nothing but the open ocean. No one could have imagined that this stretch of sea would become her final journey. A few hours after leaving Durban, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. SS Waratah continued steadily along the eastern coast of South Africa. More than 200 people on board were going about their day. Some were enjoying dinner, others were walking the decks, playing cards, or simply watching the endless ocean stretch toward the horizon. To the passengers, it was just another peaceful voyage. But the ocean had a very different plan. In late July, the weather in these waters could change within hours. Calm seas could suddenly transform into violent storms capable of overwhelming even large ships. Powerful winds, towering waves, and the fast-moving Agulhas current created one of the most dangerous stretches of ocean in the world, conditions every experienced sailor respected. Even so, Waratah was not considered a ship that would easily be defeated by rough seas. That is what made everything that followed so difficult to explain. On the evening of July 27, 1909, another steamship, Clan McIntyre, spotted Waratah in the open ocean. The two vessels passed within sight of each other, exchanging signal lamps, a routine greeting between ships at sea. Nothing appeared unusual. No distress signals, no signs of panic, no request for help. It was the last confirmed sighting of SS Waratah. After that, she simply vanished. When the day of her expected arrival in Cape Town came, passengers' families, dock workers, and company officials waited patiently at the harbor. Hours passed, then another day, but the ship never appeared on the horizon. At first, no one was overly concerned. Delays at sea were not uncommon. But as more time passed, Hope slowly turned into fear. The shipping company began sending telegrams to every major port along the route. Had Waratah sought shelter from bad weather? Had any captain seen her? Every reply was the same. No. No one had seen the ship. No one knew where she had gone. One of the largest search operations of its time soon began. Dozens of ships searched the area where Waratah had last been reported. Crews scanned the waves, hoping to find anything, a piece of wreckage, a lifeboat, even a floating life ring. But the ocean remained silent. No wooden debris, no bodies, no lifeboats, not a single confirmed object that could be traced back to SS Waratah. And that is what makes this mystery so unsettling. After most maritime disasters, the sea eventually gives something back. A broken mast, a section of the hull, a lifeboat, something. But this time, it was as if the ship had been erased from history. Weeks passed. The search continued. Hope faded with each passing day. Families waited desperately for any news. Instead, they were left with even more questions. How could a ship of this size disappear without leaving a single confirmed trace? Why was there never a distress call? And could a storm really erase every piece of evidence? That was when the first theories began to emerge. Some sounded entirely reasonable. Others seemed almost impossible to believe. Yet one explanation is still considered by many historians to be the most likely. And to understand it, we first need to uncover what may have happened during Waratah's final hours. What really happened to the SS Waratah? For more than 100 years, researchers have suggested dozens of theories, but one explanation appears more often than any other. During previous voyages, some sailors noticed that the ship behaved strangely in heavy seas. It could lean dangerously during rough conditions, raising concerns about its stability. If those fears were correct, then one powerful storm, or a so-called rogue wave, could have become its final enemy. One sudden impact from the ocean could have caused the enormous liner to lose balance and capsize so quickly that the crew would not have had enough time to send a distress signal. And this remains one of the greatest mysteries of the story. Why did no message ever come from the SS Waratah? Why did the radio remain silent? Why did the ship disappear as if it had never existed? But this is only one possible explanation. Some researchers have suggested a fire in the cargo hold. Others have proposed an explosion, human error, or even a collision with an unknown object. However, none of these theories has enough evidence to prove what really happened. Because one crucial piece is still missing: the ship itself. Without wreckage, without remains of the vessel, and without witnesses to its final moments, we can only continue searching for answers. More than a century has passed. During that time, humanity has discovered many ships that remained hidden beneath the ocean for decades or even hundreds of years. Yet, the SS Waratah remains one of the largest passenger liners whose final resting place has never been confirmed. Maybe it is still lying somewhere in the darkness of the Indian Ocean. Maybe its hull is hidden beneath layers of sand, mud, and time. Or maybe the answer to this mystery will forever remain where the ship disappeared, at the bottom of the ocean. And that is what makes the SS Waratah more than just a lost ship. It is the story of 211 people who set out on an ordinary voyage but became part of one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. What do you think? What was the true reason behind the disappearance of the SS Waratah? A massive wave? A design flaw? Or is the ocean hiding a completely different truth? And if you enjoy real stories of ships that still have no final answer, subscribe to Ocean Mysteries, because ahead are more mysteries where the ocean hides more questions than answers.